First things first is that going through a breakup sucks. But now you have genuine sadness inside of you, which is unlimited motivation for you to become a fucking beast, become an animal. And by the time you're finished becoming an animal, you won't care anymore. So if you really want to cure yourself, you just say, I'm going to get a six pack and I'm going to get bigger arms. And by the time my arms are this size and I have a six pack, then I'm going to think about that bitch. And you'll realize that you don't give a shit about her anymore. That's just the way the world works. And every single man out here, no matter what they say, understands how bad it is to go through a breakup and understands what heartbreak's like. It's difficult. It's not easy. I'd actually like to argue that men feel more heartbroken than women. I think that's
facts.
I think it's true. And I think it's because one of the possessive element that we have, the idea of her being with someone else hurts more than the idea of you being with someone else to her. And secondly, because you have a lot less options than she has instantly. So I think that breakups are worse for men than they are for women. And I understand how difficult and hard they can be. However, unfortunately, the unfortunate reality is that chasing her and being dedicated to her and saying you're going to do whatever she wants, etc., is very unlikely to work. It's very unlikely to work. And you have to look at the scenario you're in, look at the chessboard and make the best possible move. When you're heartbroken, when you're truly heartbroken, you can't even sleep. And your mind is constantly preoccupied. And instead of seeing that as a negative, what you need to do is use that as a source of unlimited power. If I was truly heartbroken today, let's imagine, and I could barely sleep, I'd be in better shape than I've ever been. I'd train like a fucking animal. You have to just take the energy inside of you. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be converted, whether it's heat into light or momentum into friction or however you want to put it, right? Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be converted from one form to another. And you have to look at that and understand that the sadness inside of you is energy. You can't destroy it, but you can convert it into something else which is constructive. And you just have to suck it up, buttercup, and get over it.
Damn.
And there's no other way to do it. And obviously having an abundance of women makes that easier. But I wouldn't even put it that way. I'd say if you were with a woman and you lost her and you're now lonely and she's going to be moving on and you're absolutely not heartbroken and you're destroyed inside, I understand how difficult that is. It's supposed to be hard. Life is supposed to be hard. You're supposed to think this is terrible. You're supposed to suffer and smile through the pain regardless. You are failing yourself and God. That's why she left you.
How do you have time to be depressed? You have so much you could do. There's so much that you need to do to be your best self. And you're competing against men like me. And you're finding hours a day to be sad?
The world has never given a shit about sad men. So if you're going to sit there and self-diagnose yourself as a sad man, you're going to have a shit life and nobody's ever going to give a fuck and you're going to perpetually lose forever. And that is your decision. I am so scared of being that person. The idea of that terrifies me to the point where I don't even want to accept that as a reality that can possibly exist. I don't give a shit what happens to me in my life. I don't care how bad it is. I don't care if the worst, most heinous things I can possibly imagine happen to me. I know that my sadness, my depression will be temporary because I will never stay a loser. It is against my creed. It's not in my DNA. I think that God teaches you through pain and suffering. Every single time you suffer pain, you are learning a lesson. And to be honest with you, I don't think men learn lessons any other way. I don't think we are capable of learning lessons without pain. You only learn the hard way. That's men. So that's why God teaches us the hard way. It's actually very interesting, the masculine experience, because I like to believe that most men on the planet have lived a semi-similar timeline. All of us as men experience a very similar human paradigm, and that is that most men are born and you're not important, and then you go to school and you fall in love with some girl in school and she fucks someone else, and then you realize that all the 19-year-olds you want when you're 19 are with older dudes because they have cars or whatever, and you go through this experience of getting your heart broken and losing your girlfriend, etc., and many men latch on to some average bitch or accept they're gonna have their heart broken forever. But some men decide to become so big and important and strong and irreplaceable that they never have to suffer heartbreak again. Because every man deals with heartbreak and deals with sadness, but how you use that energy is the differentiator between humans, right? You are feeling the same pain that many men have felt. Every man out there has had his heart broken and understands how difficult it is as a man. But the difference between me and you, and perhaps some of the other men out there, is that certain men take that anguish and take that sadness and understand that energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be converted and use it to build themselves into a man of absolute standing and power. I think that the universe or God or whoever you want to call it, I think they know what they're doing. You're going to get exactly what you deserve in this life.
And if you don't have the things you want, quite often you don't actually deserve them. And if you start acting in a way where you do deserve them, you'll be surprised how quickly and easily they appear. You'll see. And a lot of you are sloppy and lazy, and you don't care to look back and realize where you've been sloppy or lazy, or realize where you've made mistakes. And then you're not understanding why your life is constant blunders and bluffs. Well, that's because you keep making mistakes. The best thing about being a man, in fact, the only good thing about being a man, because being a man is much harder than being a woman. You're born with no value. You don't matter. Your life is hard. The only good thing about being a man is that it's a harder version of the game of life. It's a more difficult version of consciousness. And if you play a harder video game, you get a higher score. If you're a top tier male, it's the best possible experience. There are dudes out there who are jealous of chicks because chicks get attention, because they're like, those girls get to go here, these girls get to go there. But if you were at our level and getting to do it as a man, not as a chick, as a man,
it's better.
It's much better. It's always going to be better.
Yeah.
So we have the best possible chance to live the best possible life. All you have to do is be man enough to get your stuff in order. I love that the world is hyper competitive. And when you're extremely successful, you do. I love the fact that women only want to date men with lots of money, because I have lots of money. And I love the fact that women want to date men with good bodies who are strong, because I'm strong. It's fantastic. I would actually be devastated if women changed their minds, because I like it being that competitive, because I like to win, and I have no problem with the competition. I have no problem with war. If you're going to sit and go, women shouldn't think this way, what you're actually doing, and you may not realize you're doing this, but you're speaking to the universe and saying, I can't win, so I want to change the rules of the game.
Good
and
point.
I think you should apply a completely different mindset. If women sit there and say, I want this, 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 and this, I am never offended by that, because I sit there and go, yep. Okay. All right, text me then.
I'm winning.
So I'm winning. So I think you should look at these things as a man. How can you, as a man, take absolute self-accountability?
Yep.
You can blame her, you can blame women, we can blame society, all those things. That's true. But the best thing you can do is sit there and go, well, let me make sure I don't fall into any category where I can be disqualified.
Yep.
And then you don't have to worry about any of these things. If you were really trying for the amount of time you've said you've been trying, you wouldn't still be in the position you're in. And that's the truth. When you're truly trying your best, people often ask me, they say, well, if women love money, why are they with these guys or these broke guys, or why are they with this guy who's trying to come up? I think if you're actually really trying your best in your life, and you're doing your very best to build a life, even if you don't have it yet, I think people can smell it. Not just women, men.
Ambition.
People can smell the they can see their life's in order. They're good. Something's right. You can call it magic. You can call
Potential
it energy.
is loud.
You can call it something.
Potential is very loud.
And it's kind of amazing that guys will sit and go, oh, what do I do about this girl? How do I get this girl? And they'll send super chats. How do I get this girl? How do I get that girl? If you actually just do the things you know you're supposed to be doing and get your life in order, you'd be amazed how quickly it all falls together. It's like everything else. In chess, good moves come from good positions. Boxing, you land a good punch because you're standing in the right place at the right time. You do the right things. The rest of it's actually pretty easy. And as bad as this world is, and as difficult as women are, and feminism and all these things, I promise you, if you're acting the way a man should act, with honor, integrity, you're hardworking, you're perspicacious, and you have perseverance, and you do all the things you're supposed to do, you're going to find a loyal woman who adores you. You're going to find it. It's kind of beautiful how God will give that to you if you finally get your act together.